Antimicrobial resistance sounds quite huge. What's antimicrobial resistance? Of course, I know we are looking at the situation if we can win the fight against antimicrobial resistance, or AMR. Let me start with you, Dr. Adinote. When we talk of antimicrobial resistance, what are we looking at?
Thank you very much. I would like to first and foremost thank ATLFM, the Ghana Science Association, and the College of Agriculture and Natural Sciences, University of Cape Coast, for this opportunity. This is a good platform for us to discuss such a very important topic. So antimicrobial resistance is the ability for microorganisms or germs to resist the effect of drugs that we call antimicrobials. So antimicrobials are these drugs that are used to treat infections caused by germs such as bacteria, fungi, parasites. Yes, so basically that's what antimicrobial resistance is.
But you're looking at a situation where you are getting total health care, and then these same elements you are fighting against are able to develop some sort of immunity, then that must be of greater concern.
Yes, it is. It is indeed. So antimicrobial resistance is a global health and development threat that requires an urgent multi-sectoral approach for us to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal 3 that talks about good health and well-being. In fact, the World Health Organization declared antimicrobial resistance as one of the top 10 global public health threats facing humanity. In line with this, in May 2015, the World Antimicrobial Awareness Week was instituted and set to be commemorated every year in November from the 18th to the 24th. And the objective of this is to sensitize the public and other stakeholders about the dangers associated with antimicrobial resistance and to adopt measures aimed at curbing the emergence and the spread of antimicrobial resistance. This year's theme is Spread Awareness, Stop Resistance. And it is out of this theme that the topic for discussion today was carefully couched. And if I'm allowed to proceed, I want to state that research has shown that antimicrobial resistance is on the rise. And the major drivers of this are the misuse and overuse of antimicrobials. So day in and day out, new drugs are made in order to treat infections. However, if people don't change the way they use these drugs, very soon these new drugs will suffer the same fate as the current drugs. That is why there is the need for us to come out and join the campaign so that we will together be able to create awareness about these dangers and help solve the menace.
There is a need for a national plan, for instance, to tackle antibiotic resistance. And by this WHO, and I know the Ghana Health Service and others,
there is a national plan.
There is a national policy that is to guide such the use of antibiotics. That's why one of them is why you can't easily go to a pharmacy and say that I need antibiotic. They would want to see a prescription by a clinician first before they administer it. The other one is to also the institution of a surveillance system, because like now I think because of COVID everybody understands how infections spread. Drug resistance mechanisms also spread that way. So you have, for instance, you take a medication for E. coli, an infection caused by E. coli in your system. They develop resistance. They are able to transfer the genes that made them resistant to other different group of bacteria within your system. And of course, this will be shared in your feces, your droppings, if it is poultry beds, and the farmers use antibiotic a lot. They have it in their poultry bed, the droppings of the animals, the manure. That one would also be carried on to someone, let's say a farmer, a vegetable farmer gathers the manure to fertilize the soil. Vegetables are not cooked mostly, so the bacteria is transferred to it. So you end up spreading it. So there's a policy-wise on the national, there's a surveillance system to monitor the various drivers of drug resistance within bacteria. There's also the self-infection prevention, the washing of hands. For instance, now because of COVID, we all understand the importance of washing of hands. Those are all strategies to control the spread of infection. Then there's also the need to regulate and promote the appropriate use of quality medicines. Of course, FDA exists to regulate this, and recently they even issued a warning to the animal farmers to limit not to use antibiotics as growth promoters. Feeding of animals is very expensive, so you would know that the farmers, the poultry farmers and the livestock farmers will want to find a way to enhance the growth of their animals, and one way of doing it is to use antibiotics, and FDA is always on them checking. So globally, or even on the national scale, there are various ways of trying to limit, to reduce this spread of drug resistance. Then the last one is like what we are doing, the education on the importance of drug resistance. What it means is that if the bacteria within you are resistant to an antibiotic, your treatment will delay. You will stay in a hospital for a longer time. Your treatment cost will be high, and of course, it will put a lot of financial stress on you and the government as a whole.
Well, I'm in the studio with Dr. Caleb Agbele. He's a senior lecturer at the biochemistry department here at the University of Cape Coast, and also I have with me Dr. Cynthia Adinote. She's also a senior lecturer with the Department of Molecular Biology and Biotechnology, and they're all members of the Ghana Science Association and our Science Society and Development. And we are looking at the menace of antimicrobial resistance and if we can really win the fight. Talking about winning the fight, Dr. Agbele, let me start with you. You've mentioned the modes of spread and all that, and I was even wondering that food, these feeds and all that, how do we even move from it? And looking at our own attitudes, can we really win the fight?
Yes, the fight against drug resistance is winnable, and in fact, it's a fight you can easily we can win. It's not easy because, look, the truth is that, as Dr. Adinote said, it's a natural phenomenon. Even antibiotics that have not been discovered, if they were discovered today, with time, the microbes will become resistant to it. Because number one, remember that the antibiotics are produced by the bacteria themselves. It's the compounds they also use to ward off their competitors. So it's not new to them. So what we have to do is to find out novel ways of combating them. And it is well known that if your immune system is weak, for instance, your chances of warding off drug-resistant microbes is limited. So for us here as members of Ghana Science Association and for us in the biomedical sciences, one of the things we are been interested in is to find out compounds from our natural resources that could, for instance, boost your immune system. And that is one way of warding off or winning the fight against this drug resistance. If we have compounds that will boost your immune system, then you stand a better chance of fighting drug resistant microbes. Or the other one is the use of, you've all heard about probiotics, not only in yogurt, but also even some plant extracts also have that probiotic effect. So those are all ways that we can adopt to. It's not a hopeless situation. It is winnable, but we have to change our attitude. to be able to fight off drug resistance.
Dr. Dinoti.
Yeah. So we can win the fight provided we change our attitude. And to emphasize on the things we need to do so far as antibiotics are concerned, and then I want to also state that antimicrobials is a general term for these drugs, and we have mentioned antibiotics because that is what is mostly available, apart from fungicides who are used by farmers a lot in order to fight some diseases. So what we are familiar with is the antibiotics and the fungicides. And so some advice here is that we should only use antibiotics when prescribed by a certified health professional. Always take the full prescription, even when you feel better. Never use leftover antibiotics, never share antibiotics with others, and also prevent infection by regularly washing your hands. And this will allow us to win the fight against antimicrobial resistance.
Maybe you could also cap it up with your concluding remarks, and then Dr. Agbale, you could sum up your concluding remarks and all that you said in 3 for us.
Okay. So the message is clear. We urgently need a behavioral change, and there is the need to stop the misuse and overuse of antimicrobials. So the fight against antimicrobial resistance is a shared responsibility. Everyone can help reduce the spread of antimicrobial resistance. So by everyone, we mean the general public, we mean pharmaceutical industries, health workers, farmers and veterinary officers, researchers, policymakers. So we all need to get involved. We have to stop resistance and spread awareness.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cynthia Dinoti. She's a senior lecturer with the Department of Molecular Biology and Biotechnology. Dr. Agbale.
Yeah, so just as she said, as part of the public, from here we are moving even to the university practice to interact with the students, to also make them aware of this. But my Kenyan antibiotics, me sure to be any antibiotics. A draw share to pay Echo Hospital, 1 mile to pay. My yesterday there, Echo Hospital, no Adamawa. The doctor neka there nom every 8 hours for 4 days and now for 1 week. I'm a chop and nom for 2 days. Now what to man kede Moha tomunti, Monume Drunibio, Masrawa, nom kissy. Time our doctor another mouth. Today druning in Abasa. Na se enom we drew in area, na se infection baby or hospital no one will drew for. Man can't show be the last moko hospital drew be an one mam. Yaraban mohon told if I was an awaka na mam dabi. One yanedam. It drew be our dam antibiotics our dam our hospital and make it sure there. Anu maybe enom. Na se be a war SS a be a kawaha. Obi wa yarba be a man kede man yon doctor. And kede drew last as Eric a be an oyam last. So tree or your true power when you are doing well, I was okay, more year maybe an or we. Now as a drew number there be. The man, one what the Yarabana banner. What ye, what ye done put. When you are done, what the Kuntia a drew into next time a Yarana hospital no more do me drew now. Yarabana on contem. Oyan yesterday, ma men for drew and mobi. Men and you being share antibiotics. They use more the man I could see there be use area. Yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Caleb Agbale. I know the fancy on the spell of it, but it was great. It was great.
We'll correct it. Yeah. Thank
You're welcome.
you.
It's also a pleasure having you here
You're welcome.
at the
Thank you.
Computer
It's a
to be
pleasure
Practice
having you.
Studio.